Hey, what's up, everyone? This is Josh Bowerly here with Ron Parisi, and welcome back to another episode of the Entrepreneur's Playbook. And if that sounds slightly different, it's because it is. We decided to make a slight name change from the CFO's Playbook to the Entrepreneur's Playbook, just so people knew that we are targeting this to entrepreneurs and not CFOs. And the point of this is to help 7- and 8-figure business owners ignite their financial superpowers. So, Ron, thanks for being here. What's new?
Oh man, always a pleasure. Here we are starting 2024. I'm excited about the year, man. There's so much going on, both in the entrepreneurial space, obviously the technology space, and I don't know, we're going to have an interesting year in the political realm as well. Anything can go on in 2024. So I'm excited to be here. Yeah, I was to say, this is our 5th podcast together. So I feel like we're rocking and rolling. And so what are we going to be talking about today, Josh?
Yeah, so we're switching up a little bit. Obviously, both of us work with entrepreneurs, but we're also both entrepreneurs ourselves. So I thought it'd be interesting to talk about what our biggest mistakes or our biggest hurdles were when we started our journey as entrepreneurs. So we talk about 1, 2, 3, whatever we have time for, and go from there.
Yeah, sounds great. Sounds great.
Cool. So I'll kick it off. My hardest thing, I started my very first tax practice, which was really my first business in 2000, right at the end of 2012. And the hardest thing for me was figuring out pricing, because in the beginning, most people feel like they have to compete on price. You can't compete on experience necessarily because you're just starting out on your own. You haven't built a name for yourself. So you try to get in by undercutting people on prices, right? It was trying to find that balance of, I still want to be profitable. I still want it to be worth my time, but I also want to give people a reason to come to me. And then even going further, once you start to get established, how do you increase those prices? Because now you're known as the affordable person, right? Oh, everyone, you got to go to this guy. He's so much cheaper than everybody else. So how do you get out of that? Did you experience that at all when you were starting?
No, not really. You got to remember, I never really started both of my businesses. I purchased them. So we already had that. We already had that price. We had to tackle the second piece, right? And that's, how do we go from where we're at today, and how do we communicate the value? How do we build? For me, it's all about listening to the clients and understanding their issues, their problems, and trying to solve that. And then trying to build a team behind it to be able to solve that. And then that's, for us, that dictates our pricing, our investment levels. And then, I think the hard part for me was communicating that value to the client, right? It's, what are you doing? Are you doing anything different, right? Like, you hear clients, you have this tax software. How hard is it? If anybody knew how complex, I just took the CPE class for the tax and all the different changes that have been going on in the tax realm. And man, it's so complex and so layered on top of one another. But anyway, I'm going off on a tangent. But I think it was just again, the hard part for me was communicating that value to the client as far as our investment levels. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's true. I think CPA, I worked under for a while. He explained it to clients. They'd come in and he'd have their tax return done in 30 minutes, and would he charge me $500 for 30 minutes of work? And no, it's the 200 hours that I had to put in to be able to do that in 30 minutes that I'm charging you for. Yeah, that's a tough balance to strike, especially in a business like this. So for me, that was the big one for me, was pricing. What about you? What's your biggest hurdle when you were getting started?
Yeah, I think we've experienced both. I have my traditional accounting firm, and then I have CPA on Fire, and both experienced tremendous amounts of growth, particularly CPA on Fire. We started that, or I took that over in 2019. And then the next thing I know, we started with COVID. And COVID, while it obviously hindered a lot of businesses, for us in the online space, so many of our clients took off during COVID, and it was trying to match that growth. And so many people were coming to us, trying to match that growth with my team and trying to build my team to match that growth and try to anticipate the growth. That was my hardest part. And I think that there's what I call is like, a lot of our clients are fit in 2 buckets, and maybe there's a third bucket, and that's like a growing company versus scaling company. And then we have a modified scaling company. And what that means is, like, if you're a growth company, every piece of business, there's a cost attached to that. And that's particularly in our financial services, right? Accounting and tax. Like, every client that we put on, there's so many hours that we have to work on that client. We have to meet with the client. We actually have to do the work. Whereas like a scaling business, right? The perfect example is digital marketers, right? They get paid some type of fee for delivering customers or delivering leads, right? Or maybe a YouTube. We have several YouTube personalities, right? Their audience grows. They're doing the same amount of content, right? But they're getting more and more audience and their revenues are going up. Those are like truly scalable. So that means that every new piece of business, there's not necessarily a new cost. There's maybe an acquisition cost. But after that, it's like whether you sell 100, 10,000 or 100,000 units of products, right? Whether that's a coaching, whether that's leads or whatever that is, that's a true scaling model, right? And my business is more growth. And then, like I mentioned, we have the middle side, or the middle is that scalable, but there is a piece, and a lot of our coaches, business coaches, fitness coaches, right? They're putting on clients. Maybe there's little element of cost, but it's not as dramatic as a true growth business. So there's a hybrid, but for us, we're in the growth area. So every new piece of business, I have to fill my team with different skill sets and things like that. So just trying to manage that growth with our team and trying to create that balance has been, I think, by far my hardest, what do you call that, tightrope dance here.
Yeah, yeah.
What are your thoughts? You took, obviously, CPA on fire, right? You're the founder, original founder. We just celebrated, what, 10 years now? So you went from being the marketing guy and actually being the team to do the work to having your own team and managing that early on. How'd that go for you?
Yeah, and that's certainly a struggle for me as well. And that was similar to my second point I had. The second pain point for me was trying to make the business more than just me. I think when we're starting, we're the ones on social media. We're the ones doing these videos. We're the ones going on sales calls. We're everything in the business, right? So these people, when they come to work with CPA on Fire, for me, it was, oh, I'm working with Josh. That's why I went with CPA on Fire. I saw his videos. I heard him on this podcast. He was on the sales call. So of course I'll be working with Josh. And then it's, like you said, how do you start to scale that? If everyone that comes through expects to work with you, you have a very limited capacity in what you can take on. So I think, yeah, I had very similar hurdles. And that's one of the reasons I ultimately decided to sell and bring on another owner in it, is because I never figured out a way to balance that. I think I've gotten better at that in the businesses I've started since then, because obviously you take a little bit and bring it on to the next one, but it's still a huge challenge. I think it's a challenge for any entrepreneurs. How do you build that team that can allow you to both grow and scale at the same time? It's tough. I don't know.
No, I mean, I think I hear like almost two problems, right? One problem is, first of all, it's so hard to do what you were doing, right? Where you're doing the work and you're doing the marketing and you're trying to conceptualize where the business is going, right? Because the work, and as you grow, all the work is falling on top of you. And that's what I see with a lot of our clients too, is that they don't have what I call white space, or they don't have oxygen to be able to pick their head up and look forward, because it's the fire that you built is so consuming of your energy and your time and things like that. Probably wasn't until you sold the business that you got some, oh, okay, now I see what I should have been doing. Or like you said, you're always taking what you've learned and bringing it on to the next venture, which is so important. But that too is that what you mentioned is about like, again, a lot of my clients are, you go to their website, their pictures right on the landing page. We were just talking about this. Right on landing page, their business is so tuned into their personality. And then they're like, as they build and they have team members, obviously everybody wants to talk to Josh, right? Everybody wants to talk to whoever's is the face of the company. And how do you disassociate that company with your personality is a struggle that a lot of my clients are going through right now. Maybe they've done the business 5+ years and they're like, I want to do something different, or I want to spend less time. I want to have this business as a evergreen business that's going to go on without me. And how do you bridge that gap between Josh Bowerly or Ron Parisi Inc. to XYZ company is a big issue. What have you seen in your experience with people making that leap?
Yeah, I wish I had a great answer here on what it is. And I think the other problem too, that people feel the pain up front. Oh, I can't grow unless I start to get myself out. I don't think we spend enough time thinking down the road, if you want to sell this business to maximize its value, it has to be about more than just you. Because if you're going to sell this business that's branded completely around you, what happens to it when someone else takes over? So if you want to not only grow now, but in the long term, be able to sell it, you have to be able to take yourself away from it and create something that is more than just you and lasts beyond you. And I don't think the only answer, and it's a simple solution, but it's so hard to do, is building the right team, right? Is finding those people that you can trust, that your clients can trust, and slowly phasing them in so the clients get used to them and prospective clients know when I come on, this is who I'll be working.
No, I think it's absolutely necessary, right? Is that whole concept, who, not how, is that if you're going to build this business, you got to surround yourself with people who are extremely competent, who are going to help you keep you in your unique skill sets and help you with everything else to forward that business. So that's one. But two is that, man, it is such a competitive edge when you have a personality tied to the business. At least from my perspective, is people, they see your name there, you've built that trust in your space, right? And it's like such a competitive. If it's Josh Bowerly with CPA on Fire or Ron Parisi with CPA on Fire, that's a much more powerful palette than, hey, just XYZ company. Like there's some kind of relationship there. So to extract yourself is not easy, but I think it is. The first step is to surround yourself with a team, like an A team. Get your clients to understand that they're still going to be getting tremendous value without you, and then just slowly build from there. It's not an overnight switch that's going to all of a sudden happen.
Yeah, and I think it's something that it's always been hard to build a team, right? It's always been hard to find the right people, and COVID, like every other problem, has just exacerbated this. It's
Yeah.
super hard. I think it's something we all spend so much time thinking about, how do we attract the right clients, but it also has to be, how do we attract the right people that want to be on our team and grow the business with us. And I think for me, when I look back on it, one of the things, my second business, the Prestige Journal, we always talked about, we started hiring employees and we didn't want to be who bosses that we worked for in public accounting. And the first thing we said was, we're never going to make them fill out timesheets, right? Because when I was in public accounting, that was the worst thing in the world. And then you start to discover there's actually reasons they made us do that, right?
Yeah,
So
right.
I think our first instinct is always to do the opposite of what you hated when you were an employee. And then you start to discover some of those things were there for a reason. It's a lot of experimentation, is what I would say.
I think I preach the same thing with CPA on Fire. Yeah, we're doing different things. We're doing really novel things as far as financial analysis with the client, giving information, making great business decisions. But at the end of the day, a lot of the stuff what we do is like traditional type financial models and concepts that have been around forever because they work, right? It's just adopting those traditional type modalities to today's marketplace. That's like where the secret sauce happens. But like you said, time tracking was probably not a fit for a lot of entrepreneurs, but for a professional service business where, again, growth oriented, where you need people actually have to work hours on the client work, like you have to have some kind of basis to be like, all right, are we making money? Are we not making money? Was this profitable or not? Yeah, it's always a dance. We work with a couple of law firms as well. It's always a dance with that when you get into outside of billable hour versus project billing and all that stuff.
Always
Yeah.
tough. So I got one more bonus one that I had here. I'm guessing this is probably a challenge for you and probably for every entrepreneur, but it's separating, almost having a work-life balance, I guess is the simple way to say it. And I think a lot of us get into entrepreneurship because we want to take control of our time, right? We want to create our own schedule. When you quickly find out that as an entrepreneur, your own schedule means like you can work 16-hour days, you just get to choose what 16 hours you work, right?
Yeah.
And especially, just like everything else, COVID's made this even worse, where we're all working entirely from home or a lot from home. And I'm sitting here in my home office. The rest of my house is right there. So I can very easily just slip right into my office and start doing work at any time of the day. And it's super hard to turn that off, to stop checking emails when I'm out with the family. And I don't know, it's been super hard. This is something I've really never gotten a handle on, is how to just turn it off for a while and just completely forget about the business for some hours of the day.
No, yeah, you're not. Obviously, I think every entrepreneur, you become an entrepreneur for freedom, right? And it's funny. It's a funny concept with your time, but it's something that we all struggle with. And then two is that I preach is that people see their business and then they see themselves serving their business. And I always preach like, this is you. The business should serve you, and that's easy from the Ron Parisi seat, but really, it's a mindset. For me, I do okay with building barriers. Like I work from home as well. But for me, it's always like thinking about the next thing. Like my brain's always going and I'm just trying to like you say, be present for the rest of your life. But for me, it's always the thinking switch is always on. So that's where I have to do a better job with managing my time and my effort and my resources. But yeah, everybody, man, I got a lot of clients who are quote unquote, I don't know what the term is, not workaholics, but like to work, spend a lot of time working and feel like that's necessary too. That's a mindset. Is it necessary that you work 12 hours, 16 hours a day to be successful? In some realms and some businesses it is, and maybe sometimes it's not. I think it's important too to get away from the business and allow your brain to come up with the creative ideas to make that next leap instead of always, okay, what's on my hit list or to-do list. So maybe that's another topic we can get into about mindsets and efforts and time. But yeah, something we all struggle with. Nice bonus one there, Josh.
Yeah. What about you? Any last ones here that tripped you up?
Yeah, I think it's too, is just letting it go, man. It's just, you just, there's a certain aspects of the business that you just got to let go. If you want to get to the next level, there you can't carry all the same work, right? Every yes, there has to be a no to. So just letting certain things go. You want to hold on to them. And so I think that's like my big project for next year is exactly that, is what does Ron Parisi work on? I always I enjoy doing the marketing piece. I enjoy talking to the clients, but they trying to let go of everything else in between. That's my 2024 resolution.
Yeah. And I think the funny thing is, I'm thinking about all the things we've brought up, almost all of them are solved in some way by hiring the right team, right? I think that's the biggest takeaway here, is by getting the right people around you in your business. That's going to be how you're going to solve a lot of these pain points.
Yeah.
I don't know if we did a good job of solving problems for people. I think we just brought up problems, but I think that to me is the one solution. If you can master that, you're going to solve a lot of problems.
Now someone just read this, like, it's not the answers, it's the questions. You know what I mean? So if you ask yourself the right questions, you'll do the right thing and be successful. So I think I think hopefully we covered enough, or covered some topics people can relate to, and hopefully get a handle on for 2024 and have a super successful year. And appreciate always being with you, Josh. So I wish you the best and your family for 2024, and look forward to having these podcasts going forward in 24 as well. So
Absolutely. Yeah. And for those of you listening, if you have different challenges that you don't think we covered, drop it in one of the comments or shoot us an email, and let's talk about what challenges you're seeing as entrepreneurs. But till then, we'll talk here in a few weeks in the next episode of the Entrepreneur's Playbook, and we'll see you then, Ron.
yeah, thanks, Josh, and take care, bud. Bye.